mean, Riley Cooper, I mean, like, that dude deserves a statue. I mean, like,
number one on your speed dial.
Hey, I'll tell you what, like, I mean, I didn't know until a couple days after the fact. I was like, wait a minute, is he the MVP or like we got the alternative team?
No doubt about it.
And then Ty Floyd, when I struck out 17, and like stole it from him. But I was like, when has a pitcher like been a part of like 5 of the 6 wins in Omaha? I mean, what a performance!
Coach, it's great to meet you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you for the time.
Pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Sorry I'm a little late, boys. At the spring game, obviously, as you can see. A couple of booze cruises here to do. Let's do it. Cruise. Grand salami to the boys. Finally back on track. And I got another one coming. Don't you think I don't? And that's how we roll in Tiger Stadium.
Just watching the spring games that were on television, one thing that jumped out about your squad is your quarterback room is very talented compared to a lot of the league and a lot of the country. I wonder, is it easier to recruit that position when you have talent or when you don't have talent? Coach Kelly, we're official.
Finally,
I'm
get a
telling
chance to meet you. Thought I had to get a private audience with the Pope. There's Jordy.
Monday through Friday from 7 to 9. Yeah, you see the notification, we about to go live. We got all your favorite guests, we got them in line. It's the Jordy Culotta Show, come have a good time.
Tearing up, answering the question, I thought, my gosh, if she gets offered this job, she's going to take it.
It's just a crazy, fun time at LSU right now. Isn't this what everybody loves?
From the boot to the east to the west coast, no matter where we at, we open up the phone lines, come and join the show. Make sure you tell your friends about Jordy Culotta Show. Yeah.
Let's go! Let's go!
All right.
Nice start. Big day.
Nice start.
It's the Jordy Culotta Show. Come have a good time.
Coach, it's great to meet you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you for the time. Welcome in to the Jordy Culotta Show live here on this December 27th. Post Merry Christmas to you. Happy early New Year to you as we get rolling here after Christmas, after a couple of days off, rejuvenated, and get you ready for LSU and the Reliaquest Bowl coming up on Monday. Got lots to get to. New Orleans Saints, NFL. Saints are terrible. A incredible piece of content from our friend Holden Mayo in reaction to the New Orleans Saints. Lots to get to over the next couple of hours. We're going to go to Tampa. Jacques down there with WAFB. We're going to team up with Jacques at around 8:30 this morning. And at 8:15, we're going to talk to Wilson Alexander in our regular Wednesday spot. Or excuse me, Wilson usually here on Tuesday. He's going to stop in with us here on Wednesday, being that we were off yesterday. Hopefully everybody had a Merry Christmas. Getting ready for a Happy New Year. Happy holidays from us to everybody out there. Make sure and hit that like button, share button, comment button. If you have not subscribed, make sure and do so. And just a friendly reminder here, we are less than a week away from our partnership with New Orleans.football taking shape. If you have not done so, please get over to New Orleans.football and follow them on YouTube. You're going to wake up on January 2nd and ask where we are. If you're looking for the Jordy Culotta Show, we will not be on this YouTube channel as of now. That's the plan as of now. We will definitely be with NewOrleans.football on their YouTube channel. So make sure that you are subscribed there, that you have the alert set up. That way we don't mess with your day. We don't want to mess with your routine. If you are regularly watching us in the morning during your routine, we will be switching over to NewOrleans.football next week. So make sure and subscribe to NewOrleans.football. Nick and his team. Speaking of, we're going to talk to Brooke tomorrow on our show to make up for her Tuesday spot, and we'll get a look at the Saints right now as the Saints
if anybody got a piece of coal, I hope it was Derek Carr
or Mickey Loomis
or
all of them. Or all of them.
Blake Groupie.
Blake Groupie.
Money
he's
Mickey. Well, great piece of content. We're going to get to it. Lloyd is here on this Wednesday. Stewie is here live on this Wednesday as we are live here after our a couple of days off. Everybody had a good Christmas?
Good
fellas?
Christmas.
Good.
Santa?
Christmas. Easy.
Found the house?
Played Santa.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm joking. I did not play Santa, but I kind of did.
Well, I mean, you got
Did you
to,
get a
right?
gift?
Yeah.
Where's the noise coming from? Is that up there?
Did I get a gift?
Yes. Did you get a gift?
No, I didn't
No,
get
yeah,
anything.
Yeah, I didn't get anything
Kristen
either.
didn't.
No giving or no receiving.
Really?
Yeah.
I did the giving
Damn.
this year.
I know.
You have to give a gift?
Huh?
You didn't give a gift?
We don't. I don't even know. I guess we just technically didn't really do Christmas. Saw the relatives.
Oh.
Did lunch. Did dinner. We do ours at night. So that's when the freaks come out. We played a little. They have a Family Feud app that you can download where Steve Harvey is hosting, but it's clearly not live, but it's a part of the game, and it is so much fun.
I bet.
We had a blast. We were just
I
all
bet.
blitzed coming up with our 5 Family Feud answers.
Family Feud would be a great game show to be on.
Oh,
Yeah.
you can't. Yeah, you can be as dumb as you want and still get some answers right.
Absolutely.
That's why I
Absolutely.
thrive in the Family Feud.
Wheel of
scenario.
Fortune, Jeopardy. I mean, you're on
You'll
an
get
island.
exposed.
You're on an island.
This is real
I
stuff.
mean, I
Geography.
could go through a couple of categories where I don't even buzz in. Are you still here?
Who was the third U.S. president?
I'm actually gonna
I'd like to buy another vowel. You're all out of vowels, buddy.
I
I
owe y'all money.
For real?
What is a vowel?
All right, so make sure to hit like, share, comment. Appreciate you starting here on your Wednesday. It's good to be back, getting into the new year here. As I landed some tickets for Texas Washington on Monday night. We'll be at the Sugar Bowl for Texas Washington, watching Penix and
Michael
viewers.
Penix
Michael
Jr.
Penis.
Big Penix energy.
Yes.
But
Texas is back.
could be.
Or-
We'll find out. We'll find out.
Is Michael Penis too big?
We'll find out. Mike Denbrock will not be back.
Oh.
And that is the big news
Breaking.
hovering around LSU here as the Tigers are in bowl preparation. And as we said, we'll head over to Tampa here and talk to Jacques, as Jacques going to be with us in his regular Wednesday spot, this time on the road as he's getting ready for LSU and Wisconsin coming up on Monday. Tigers going to be without Jaden Daniels, starting quarterback, Heisman Trophy winner, set all the records here in his senior season. Going to be looking at Garrett Nussmeier for the quarterback duties, and it'll be a shared role between offensive play calling and Cortez Hankton, passing game coordinator and wide receivers coach, and Joe Sloan, quarterbacks coach, here in this 2023 edition. Before we get to their roles and responsibilities and what could be next, first, Mike Denbrock accepting the Notre Dame offensive coordinator job last Friday, and he did it about 30 minutes after we went off the air. We were on our regular 7 to 9 a.m., and news broke about 9:30 Friday morning that Denbrock had accepted the Notre Dame offensive coordinator job. We talked a lot about it on Friday, and from Denbrock's perspective, from a football standpoint, I don't think a lot of people would look at this and say that it makes a ton of sense, right? When you're talking about the number one offense in the country, you got what was arguably, the best receiver in college football. You had the best player in college football. You had the best quarterback in college football. You had a lot of bests. You had the number one offense in college football. As far as accomplishments, you were only going to go backwards, right, from Denbrock's standpoint. While I think that the 2024 edition of LSU's offense has a chance to be special, I don't think that they'll be number one worthy and have a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback on it, or at least right now from a projected standpoint. I would have said the same thing last year at this time and would have been proven completely wrong if that would have been my thought process, right? Of Jayden Daniels won't win the Heisman and LSU's offense will be okay. But, here they are a year later, all the awards, all the accolades, all the records, and Denbrock on the move. And from Denbrock's perspective, right, like the football standpoint, you kind of look at it, you're like, LSU to Notre Dame? Is that, do you want to be in the SEC? Do you want to be at Notre Dame? Two high-quality jobs, but I think if you were, had them side by side, and this is trying to take as much bias out of it, I'm sure the people in South Bend and who are Irish supporters will disagree with this, but I think that the majority of people would say that LSU's a bigger job, right? LSU's just from a football standpoint. Notre Dame's got all the attention, and Notre Dame is Notre Dame. You got more opportunity, I would believe, to win at LSU than at Notre Dame. And from Denbrock's perspective, he accomplished so much in his 2 years. The development of Jayden Daniels is probably the lead byline on his resume in his time at LSU. Daniels goes from a guy that was projected after his junior season, most probably to be a late round draft pick, if not a free agent pickup, to a potential number 1 overall draft pick to, without question, a top 15 pick at this point. He looks like he's going to be a high first round selection. So the development of Jayden Daniels alone from an offensive coordinator standpoint in those 2 years deserves a lot of recognition and a lot of praise. And then to have everything else that comes along with that. You have a Bolitnikoff Award finalist. You've got a Joe Moore Award finalist in the offensive line. You had a running game that really started to produce once you found the guy in Logan Diggs. And, the ability that Jayden Daniels showed not only to throw the ball and to run the ball, but his decision-making, I thought, was his biggest attribute, his most dangerous attribute. If you're a defensive coordinator, if you're somebody that's trying to stop LSU, the decision-making that Daniels made under center, I thought, was the difference maker of the Heisman Trophy. And somebody's got to get some credit for that, right? I mean, there had to be some coaching along the way that was pointing out some stuff to Daniels to say, hey, watch out for this. If you see this, maybe resort to that. And Denbrock would be the lead guy there. From a personal standpoint, once you realize that he's 2 hours, he's from 2 hours away from Notre Dame's campus, grew up an Irish fan, really around that part of the country. He's from a little small town in Michigan that's 2 hours away from South Bend, Indiana. Homer, Michigan, I believe is the name of the town. Huh. But Denbrock is a guy who spent 14 seasons at Notre Dame in the same role, 02 to 16, with Brian Kelly, without Brian Kelly. Very familiar with Notre Dame, very familiar to South Bend. So from a personal standpoint, I believe that Denbrock has been waiting on this opportunity. No matter where he was in college football, this is going home for him. And at this point in your career, where you've made the money, you've gotten the awards, you've got the accolades and the accomplishments, it probably does become a little bit selfish in the sense of you've got an opportunity to do what you want. A coach's life is really dictated, by opportunity and opening. You don't really have a chance to say, hey, I want to go there, or I want to coach there, and I want to stay here, right? There's only a select few that can go, stay, and build a life and live in one place for a extended amount of time. It's a very, it's a profession that takes you places, that, puts you in different cities. In some scenarios, you could be in, multiple cities in successive years. If you've got the opportunity to say, hey, I want to go there, and when I get that opportunity, I want to stay there and close out my career, and then it happens, it's very rare for that to for that to go down on a coach's clock during his time. So if you have that opportunity like Denbrock did, I think, he was going to jump at that 10 out of 10 times. So, when you kind of get down into the investigation of it, of just kind of, the dots, and you start connecting them, makes really perfect sense for Denbrock after a successful run at LSU, and the accomplishments and what they had been able to accomplish while he was here, and realize, like, hey, man, there's not a lot of places we can go from an accomplishing standpoint other than regressing. Got an opportunity to go home in a place that you're familiar with. The money's right. Let's go. So from Denbrock's standpoint, I am not surprised. I am not and was not shocked when the Newswire read that he had accepted the Notre Dame job. And I think even internally for LSU's standpoint, this is something that they were conditioned and not necessarily prepared for it to happen as quick as it did, but ultimately knew that it was a possibility that Denbrock would like to be in that part of the country and closer to home. And if the Notre Dame offensive coordinator job ever opened up like it did over the last, couple of days, couple of weeks, with Notre Dame's offensive coordinator on the season taking the head coaching job with Troy, Gerald Parker was the play caller in South Bend, who's now the head coach at Troy. Once that position opened up, I think internally people at LSU started to move some pieces, right? There was an extension, there was a raise. That does not go in front of the board of directors until February. But as we said on Friday, for something as crucial and as something as intense as this can be, that wouldn't be the deciding factor, right? Like, I mean, if Denbrock needed the confirmation that, hey, look, you're going to get your money, you're going to get your years, you may not find out till February, but look, we got it on good information. This is going to happen. And if whoever you need to talk to get that confirmation, we can put them in front of your face. That's not why this deal did not get done. It didn't get done because Denbrock wanted to go home. And I think we can all relate to that. Yeah, I mean, I think that, we've all had situations, or we've all wanted to be in situations where, somewhere closer to home, if it made sense, we would want to be there. So I think that's the Denbrock situation. I think Denbrock leaves with a huge smile and a huge thanks, and a lot more money and a lot more hardware.
And if you need to point to anything other than he probably wanted to go quote unquote home or go to Notre Dame, I guess you could probably connect the dots that he turned down the A&M job, right? I mean, that's when the LSU rumors started to swirl of him getting a contract extension that the board of directors didn't meet, whatever. But he had an opportunity to go somewhere else before he could go to Notre Dame. And so him returning to South Bend makes a lot of sense. And if you look at it from purely just a monetary standpoint, if you're Denbrock, when are you going to have the opportunity to do this again, to go to a place that you want? Clearly he has an affinity for, but after you just put up a year with what should have been the Biletnikoff winner, with the Heisman Trophy winner, and the number one offense in the country, like, he's never put together something like that. And so to be able to capitalize on what was a historical run in 1 year, then you get the offer of $9 million to go to Notre Dame. Like, okay, like, I set myself up for this if I wanted to go. And I feel like LSU fans aren't really, it doesn't feel like this is a devastating blow to the staff, right? Didn't you feel like whenever the Brady situation happened, that everybody's kind of looking around the room going, what are we going to do now? This feels like, okay, well, we got some people, whether it be, and I guess I don't want to put too much stock in the bowl game whenever you have Sloan and Hankton be co-OCs, but I do think that's their first opportunity to kind of audition for the job. If it's not those two, where do you think LSU looks? Because they're going to have the checkbook. It's like they're paying a buyout.
Well, yeah, no, it's going to be interesting because I think that there's a couple of things that are in play here. And I will say, to start off with, I did not understand the promotion of the co-offensive coordinators within your own staff, because at this point now, you're going to have to make a decision with one of these guys unless you keep it status quo and give them the dual co-offensive coordinator title, which I think is, that is a slippery slope. And, one that LSU fans have a history of, we've seen up close what co-defensive coordinators back in 2008 with, the co-DCs of Doug Mallory and Bradley Dale Pivoto, where it just was it was a total failure. I mean, it was a failure on all levels, and it's tough to work. I mean, it's tough to really maintain and organize. So,
do you think that would be contingent on if they want to stay at LSU, whether it be Sloan or Hankton? Like, they look at this, I don't want to say it's a competition, but Hankton is your passing game coordinator. Sloan obviously works with the quarterbacks, and then you don't forget that Brian Kelly has his thumbs all over the LSU offense. Like, that's where he kind of makes his hay, whether it be with the offensive line or he's in that room as opposed to being in the defensive room.
Well, I think Kelly's looking for a coordinator. I don't think that Kelly wants any of the role of the day-to-day tasks
I don't think he'll call plays. But I'm saying he's involved.
Offensive mind. Absolutely, 100%. He's involved in everything. I mean, look, make no mistake about it. I was told on great accounts that when the defense, the struggles really started early in the season, I mean, Kelly would spend every moment pretty much with the defensive staff on that side of the practice field, was all in the meeting rooms, he is invested on making sure this thing gets right and has the understanding of, the game to make sure he's pushing the buttons that need to make it tick. And when you're talking about a vacancy at the offensive coordinator spot at LSU, first off, this is a very prestigious position, at least from the outside looking in. Forget the checkbook at this point. Now, the checkbook's going to make everybody at least listen, pay attention, eyeballs kind of flex when you're saying LSU's OC job opened up. A lot of offensive minds around the country said, huh? Really? Like, get my agent on the phone and see if we have a chance there. Right? Like, I mean, not only do they pay, they've got the money, you're in the league, but look at the mock drafts. You got 3 first-rounders. I mean, you got 2 top 10 picks. You may have the number 1 overall pick in Jaden Daniels. Top 3 picks. I mean, you've got guys like Neighbors, Daniels, Thomas coming out this season. Next year, it'll be Will Campbell. I mean, you're going to have guys on the offense that are going to the next level and being graded and drafted at a very high position. So the players, first and foremost, is going to make offensive play callers say, hey, what's going on there? And then when they say, and it pays over $1.5 million, like, okay, well, I mean, like, what do we need to do? Right? So I think everybody, all of football is in play, at least to listen, right? I heard Joe Brady's name come up, and I cannot say this more. I cannot say this any more blatant or any more passionate. Joe Brady is never coming back to college football if he's not a head coach. The only way that Joe Brady would come back to college football would be to be a head coach at one of these marquee universities that can pay him $10, $12 million a year for an extended amount of time. But if you're asking him to leave Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills to come down to Baton Rouge and be an offensive coordinator for 16, 17, 18-year-old guys that he's got to recruit, develop, and work on all year, there is no break in college football anymore. There used to be a month off in June, July somewhere where you could steal a couple of weekends in and out of camps. Now, with transfer portals, recruiting camps, all of what goes into college football, you're never off. There's no time to vacation. There's no time for family. There's no extended time for any of that. In the NFL, there is a true off season. Those guys have 3 months off to go live in their second houses, go play golf, go fish, go do whatever they do for fun, hobbies. A lot of them go down to the Keys and fish with Jimmy Johnson for a week. Yeah, do all this stuff. Can't do that in college football. I mean, Brian Kelly can because he's 35 years into it and making 10 years, $10 million for the next 7 years on, that's guaranteed. The rest of his staff are still trying to hack it, cut it. They want their opportunity. Joe Brady is not coming back to college football to recruit. He hated recruiting while he was here. Caleb Williams would have come to LSU if Joe Brady would have stayed. He didn't want to be on a plane in Washington, D.C. during the holidays, trying to get some 17-year-old to look at his offense and hear why it made sense for him. He'd rather sit in a meeting room with Josh Allen and say, hey, here's how we're going to make you better. So if he's not the head coach in college football, he's never coming back. Not only to LSU, but anywhere. He's an NFL guy. Once you cross over and you're that NFL blood, you got that NFL spirit to you, it's tough to come back and recruit. Now, coaches say they never want to come back, and they get into situations where the only job available is the Kentucky running backs coach. You in or you out. I guess I got to take it now. But if you got options, Joe Brady is not leaving the NFL if he has an opportunity to stay there, to come back to college football and be a coordinator. I guarantee it. I've talked to people very close to Brady. It's not happening. So people saying Joe Brady will come back, Joe Brady's not coming back. Now, if Brian Kelly leaves for a job that opens up and you say, hey, Brady, you want to be the head coach? We'll pay you $10 million for the next 10 years. I'll pay attention to that. Yeah, I'll listen to that.
Listen, I wouldn't even guarantee that either, just because of the situation that he's found himself in as Buffalo's, it would be interim offensive coordinator, but now it seems like they are rolling, and he's going to be named probably the permanent offensive coordinator. So for him to leave Buffalo with the one thing that everybody is starved for in the NFL, which is a franchise quarterback, why would you walk away from that situation to come into the unknown? Like, just because he's been to LSU before doesn't mean that it has his heart. He was just at right place, right time. It blew LSU up, and he is probably one of the more beloved figures in LSU, at least in recent memory, because it went from, offense can look like that, and then it's kind of like I guess you could say the one that got away, but him leaving was clearly, I don't like doing this on the college level. I don't want to recruit.
And it was...
there's no amount of money that would make him come back when he's already got a good job.
Right. If he has the option to stay in the NFL, and he has the option of going to college football and be a coordinator, he's not leaving the NFL. He'd stay in the NFL to be a quarterback's coach rather than being an offensive coordinator in college football. And really and truly, he's about to be the Buffalo Bills' permanent OC. Right now, he's in the interim role. The whole offense has changed since he's been calling the plays the last month. They've switched the entire identity of the offense. It's now built around the running back and Cook. Allen is staying protected. He's staying more healthy. They're winning games. Joe Brady ain't leaving. I mean, moral of the story, get Joe Brady out of your head. Brady's not coming back to LSU to call plays, and he never will. The only way that will happen is if he's a head coach. That's it. Other guys that I would think would be prospective candidates that are not in-house, I would look at Kirby Moore at Missouri. Moore was just extended. He just got a contract extension. His name keeps popping up. But let's be honest, LSU has more money than Missouri when it comes down to football, and it's a bigger program and a bigger job. All those contracts are cute and the stuff's behind the scenes, but if you really want somebody, you can get somebody. Just pay the thing out and get them over here. So the contract really doesn't scare me from Moore's standpoint. And I think outside of what you have in-house, he would be the name that I think I've heard at least, curiosity around the most.
I mean, I'm just looking at a list that is from Saturday Down South of the top 23 offensive coordinators in college football. Warren Reguero from Wake Forest, Phil Longo at Wisconsin. That's interesting. But Garrett Riley, Ryan Grubb at Washington, and then they have Andy Ludwig, Mike Denbrock was on the list, Kendall Briles at TCU. Those kind of names are the ones that would kind of tickle you, right? Like the ones that you've heard of that are established, that when they go someplace, you go, okay, their offense got better.
Now, one I will say pay attention to just because of familiarity if I was betting on it, I would not put my money on it, but I think it's a name to watch would be Tommy Rees. I think, Rees and his relationship with Kelly was his first choice when he was at LSU. Kelly went after him. He ended up staying. From Rees's standpoint, he wanted the opportunity to really kind of be the offensive head coach. Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame said, "Look, man, I'm not going to get in your way. You run the offense. You run the deal. I'm not trying to step over, the offensive side of the ball. I'll run the defense. You run the offense." Right? A year later, he's with Saban in Alabama. I don't know what that has done. I doubt it did anything to Kelly and Rees's relationship. But I would say, from an outsider's perspective, somebody's not in-house, those two names would be the guys that I would keep an eye on. Kirby Moore at Missouri and Tommy Rees at Alabama. I don't think that it gets outside of LSU's house. I will say that when I saw the co-offensive coordinator
tag
being elevated from guys that are already on staff, I did think, because in my opinion, at this point now, you're going to have to make a decision on one of these guys. And while Mike Denbrock was the offensive coordinator for LSU the last 2 seasons, I think the strength of LSU's staff has been the entirety of that offensive group. That is a championship level offensive staff that LSU has. Obviously, with the accolades, the numbers, the development of the players from everybody. I mean, forget Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is the easy example, the bright and shining ornament that you can look at and point at and say, man, look how much better that guy has gotten, right? Like physically, mentally, just everything that goes into playing the game. Daniels has really taken the strides and checked off every box. But the development of guys like Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors, Will Campbell, the numbers he's given over the last 2 years, that offensive line, the development of all those guys, Campbell, Jones included, but the running backs, the recruiting, the quarterbacks, the development, the depth, what they've been able to do from an offensive standpoint, that staff is elite. Elite. Everybody, Brad Davis, offensive line, dominant recruiter, solid on-the-field developer. Joe Sloan, quarterbacks coach, the development of Jaden Daniels. We talked about it with Denbrock. Sloan is the guy that has been spending every single day with Daniels over the last 2 years. Every meeting room, every piece of film, everything. Sloan has been right by Jaden Daniels' side. In his back pocket. Vice versa. Deserves a lot of credit for Daniels' development and building the depth of the quarterback room. Cortez Hankton at wide receiver. What else has to be said? That group is got 2 first-rounders sitting in the room. Both guys that were developed on Hankton's watch. He's also got guys waiting in the wings like Shelton Sampson, Jalen Brown, Kyle Parker. Got guys coming in, 4 or 5 stars that he was lead recruiter on. Guys elite. And then, obviously, Frank Wilson. I don't even refer to Frank Wilson. I heard somebody say it the other day. It might have been Sam Spiegelman. I agree with Spiegelman 100%. Forget calling Frank Wilson the running backs coach. Frank Wilson is the associate head coach of LSU football. He's the second most powerful man on that staff, on campus when it comes to football, and deserves to be. That is the offensive staff for LSU. That is elite. Every single position group, every single guy that's there can develop, can recruit, can get the guy, can win in the field, can win in the living room. That is exactly what you're looking for. Now you have 2 of them as co-offensive coordinators. After this game, you're going to have to tell one of them or both of them, like, I need that title back. Go back to your position group. And look, they're all professionals. Maybe they handle that, but they are also professionals with some ego, right? And you go sit in that You go sit in that bigger office, and then you're told, yeah, you got to go back down to your spot. You're like, well, hang on, it's a lot cooler here. And what did I do to discredit that I don't want this? And again, if he has a plan in place, which I'm sure he does, because Kelly has proven that, look, man, he works on his own clock. He works at his own pace, and there's no criticism. That is not, saying how could he? He operates the way he does. There will be staff changes coming. I thought those staff changes would have happened a month ago. They may not happen for another month.
And we didn't think it'd be these staff changes.
So, I mean, he's handling it at his own pace, on his own schedule, on his own timeline that he's comfortable with. And look, he knows what he wants. He knows who he's going after. But having to potentially piss one, if not both of these guys off, Sloan, Hankton, man, that's a strong nucleus of your offensive staff. An offensive staff that is as good as the country has in college football. Definitely as good as the league has in the SEC. When you're talking about Sloan, Hankton, Davis, and Wilson, I'll put those four position guys up against anybody in the country, both in the living room and on the field.
When you talk about this co-OC thing, there's also a world where we're making it too big of, there's probably conversations that we're not privy to, obviously, where they said, hey, y'all be co-OC while I go look around, or it's an audition. But I do think that there's a world where, hey, Sloan, you've done this before. You're an offensive coordinator for Ed Tech. So why wouldn't you just go, hey, both come with a pay raise? It might not, we're not at branded co-OCs, but Cortez, like, Hankton, you can stay as wide receivers coach, passing game coordinator. Sloan, you're offensive coordinator.
Well, coordinator titles are given for paychecks.
Right.
Like, Cortez Hankton is the passing game coordinator. He's also the wide receivers coach. He's paid for both. So if there's a way that his elevation to co-offensive coordinator allows him to retain and keep the passing game coordinator title, where you've got Sloan, Joe Sloan, now with a coordinator title as well. He's the quarterback's coach right now. I mean, now he's serving as the interim co-OC. But the pay grade changes when the coordinator title hits the suffix, right? I mean, like when it's on the byline, you're making more. And these guys are in it for the money too. Like, I mean, they want to keep making as much money as they possibly can. So maybe there is a scenario where it all works out, where you kind of keep everybody in play and keep everybody happy with the money and the title and the role, where you kind of just push this thing through, right? Where you've got Sloan, you've got Hankton, and now you may be replacing like a quarterback's coach, or you go get somebody else for the staff that can take a role that is maybe not getting the attention that it once had, because these guys have new roles. I'm just saying, from LSU standpoint, I don't want to lose either of these guys. Obviously, if they have opportunities to take the next step and get a bigger job or take and elevate their role, you're all for it. But if they're staying, or at least there's nobody in play to come take them away from LSU, you want to make sure and keep those two guys happy, because a lot of the success that you've experienced over the last 2 seasons offensively can be credited and directly pointed back to Hankton and Sloan, respectively. Recruiting in the living room, development on the field. Think about the wide receivers class last offseason, last cycle. Hell, think about this recruiting class from a wide receiver standpoint. Hankton, lead guy on all of them. Think about the development of Malik Neighbors over the past 2 seasons. Think about the development of Brian Thomas over the past 2 years. Look at the way Kyron Lacey became better throughout the year, more dependable. That is not by coincidence. That is not happening on accident. Those guys are putting the work in. The players are committed to getting better, but the coach is meeting them at some point and saying, these are the things you have to do to get better, and it's working. Both with the quarterbacks and wide receivers. LSU cannot afford. To me, those two are extremely more valuable than Mike Denbrock is, and that's no discredit to Denbrock. Denbrock had a successful run. He moves on and will have a successful run at Notre Dame, I assume. But when you talk about the value of the staff to LSU over the last 2 years, it would be easy for me to formulate an argument that I would feel comfortable on and confident that I could be able to take on, that Sloan and Hankton have been more valuable both individually and collectively than the offensive coordinator. So, from that standpoint, my opinion, don't lose either of them if you can. Like, this scenario of co-offensive coordinator makes me kind of
think exactly
uneasy,
but
because you may put one in jeopardy of saying, I want the job. No, I want the, however it goes down.
But the alternative is if you bring in a new OC, like a fresh offensive coordinator that's not currently on the staff, you do run the risk of losing one or both in Sloan and Hankton, right? So this is why it feels like I think they want everything that you're saying. I think LSU internally is going, what's the best way we can keep Joe Sloan and Cortez Hankton happy? And if you run the risk of bringing in a new offensive coordinator that isn't on staff or it's not one of those two, what's stopping them from staying? Okay, fine, I'll start looking around. I'll go look for an OC job if I can be an interim.
Well, I mean,
or even if you even get tapped the way that they are right now.
Just like we spoke about Denbrock's stock never being higher, the whole staff's stock is
as high. This happens
high.
when you're good,
right? Like, I mean, think if Brad Davis's agent picked up the phone and was like, "Yo, Brad's looking for more money." How many teams in the league would be like, "We'll pay him"? Not to say that's I'm just saying their stock is like Cortez Hankton's agent could be like, "What do you think about? What do you think about Tez right now? That we want him, like we'll take him."
And that's
Joe Sloan.
Yeah.
How many people be lined up for Sloan right now? You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that are looking at LSU's offense saying, we want a piece of that, right? Like, I mean, again, by no coincidence, Texas A&M's first move that Elko makes when he's trying to find his offensive coordinator, he looks at Denbrock. Who's running the best offense in the country? LSU. Hire their guy.
That's where I think Notre Dame got a little.
Notre Dame is saying, first move they make when Parker takes the Troy job. Marcus Freeman, who you want? Give me LSU's guy. Give me Denbrock. We're familiar with him. We know him. We have the same agent. Freeman and Denbrock have the same representation. Right? I mean, like, sometimes this stuff can get a little slimy when you learn about the back end stuff of it. Right? I mean, this deal's probably been done for a month.
Would you have been more, I don't want to say upset, but more concerned about the future of LSU if Notre Dame had gone in and hired Joe Sloan and
Hell yes. If Notre Dame would have come and taken Cortez Hankton, that would have been a bigger move to me. Like, that makes LSU weaker. That makes LSU less productive in the living room. And it makes a vacancy very tough to fill. It's tough to fill the energy, the preparation, the swag, the communication, the ability that Hankton has proven over the last 2 years. Has he ever called a play in college football? Has he ever been an offensive coordinator? No. Would I trust him calling plays at all at this level? Hell yeah, I would. Absolutely. And I think that might be what this is for Brian Kelly. A little trial run of seeing who can handle it. Sloan called plays at Louisiana Tech, and to be completely honest, his offenses weren't world beaters. They weren't, it wasn't as if he was running some scheme or he was running some type of method that you were like, wow, you got to have that. I think he more made his reputation of the recruiter, the developer, right? I mean, like, if you remember when he got hired and he came on the show, there was a term, and it still is, you got Sloaned. Mm-hmm. Right? Like that was kind of the deal. That was kind of the recruiting angle of Sloan. Like where, you'd sit down, you'd talk to him, 30 minutes later, you're like, I'm in love. I love this guy. I mean, How can I go play for you? Where do I sign? You just got Sloaned. Like that was the deal. So, I mean, the guy's that good at recruiting, and then you get him on the field and he can develop, and he's got like on his resume, he's got a Heisman Trophy winner. He developed Jaden Daniels. I mean, those are, things that you look at and experience of, he's been around, he's seen things, he's been a part of staffs that have had success. So, from that standpoint, both these guys, very talented, I think both very important to the future of LSU football and keeping them as long as possible, and interested to see how this will work out with the co-OC title for the next at least week, right? I mean, game on Monday, you'll probably find something out after that game pretty suddenly on what the plan is from a play calling standpoint. But I would stress trying to keep both these guys on staff intact and happy, because they in my opinion deserve a lot of credit for the success that LSU's having on that side of the ball. Remember, daily, we're brought to you by Go Roof. 2-year free workmanship guarantee with all our new roof installations over at Go Roof. Online at GEAUXroof.com. Roof's up with our friends over at Go Roof. 225-927-8300. A beautiful roof every single time. Roofing contractors right here in Baton Rouge that can help you with roof repair, roof installation, and roof maintenance. That's on residential, commercial. If you need roofing repairs, as we said, boys can help you out today. 225-927-8300. 225-927-8300 or online at GEAUXroof.com. GEAUXroof.com. Roof's up with our friends over at Go Roof. 225-927-8300. We'll surf through some of these comments and see what some of you guys and some of what our listeners think.
You want to play the hold the mail?
Not yet.
The call?
Not yet. But we definitely will.
I did put up on the poll, would you rather the co-OC, like the co-OC of Sloan and Hankton, or an outside hire? And right now it's at 56% co-OC.
I mean,
is it just the title that bothers, that is causing a little bit of a stir?
I don't think. I mean, look, I think all of that stuff can be internally. It can be smoothed over, worked out, and easily kind of laned up. Look, this is your lane. You sprint here. This is your lane. You sprint here. Yeah, I mean, look, that's as long as that stuff's figured out and you can keep those guys intact. That would be my primary concern. That would be my primary. My goal is to keep Hankton and Sloan on staff.
I would think they have a pretty good working relationship.
Yeah,
with him being the quarterback's coach and Hankton being the receivers
coach. See each other every day.
Right. And then I would just think okay, Sloan, you've called plays before, so you handled the overall structure of the offense.
And
Cortez, you give ideas in the passing game of what you like and what you don't like. And then we come together at the end and say, all right, that's the play we want to run.
Yeah, and it could be, I mean, I guess if I'm trying to think of like a co-OC or any, obviously LSU fans are, I mean, just the co-title of anything is a nightmare fuel after the DC experiment, and it just seems like it's never should have been an option ever again. But for this scenario,
this case,
yeah, couldn't you see a world where it's a little bit like when it was Insminger and Brady, where somebody, I don't know if they're both in the booth, I don't know how you want to do that whole thing, but where they're actively working together, and you're like, all right, you handle third down red zone, I have, like you can structure this in a way to where it makes sense.
And doesn't,
because the bigger issue I think for everybody involved, especially like whether you're on LSU staff or if you're an LSU fan, they don't want to lose either Sloan or Hankton. They want to keep both of them.
But doesn't Sloan sit in the booth during games anyway, and Hankton's on the sideline?
Sloan sat right next to Denbrock.
Okay, so.
And Hankton was on the sideline.
So it's soft.
In the Insminger-Brady relationship, both of them were in the box.
Yeah. Right next to each other.
Right.
Big old dip in.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the on-the-field communicator,
was it?
I believe was either Kevin Falk or
was it Munoz? George Munoz.
George Munoz was like, he ran the game. He was the guy like calling timeouts, and he was kind of like
he was like back in the
Ed, right? Like he was like exactly like Ed,
the pushback coach. Get that guy
more than the pushback coach.
But
I mean? Like that's where he was standing.
Yeah. He was the get back coach for all of Ed's get back.
Who's the wide receivers coach?
Was it Craig? It wasn't.
No. You talking about 2019?
Mickey Joseph.
Mickey Joseph.
Joseph.
Mickey Joseph was the on-field communicator.
Now he's the head coach.
Yeah.
So,
Grambling State.
like as long as the roles are developed and they're easily understood and everybody's on board. And again, look, I believe that this Denbrock thing the wheels have been in motion on this for a while now. I don't think anybody at LSU was surprised that he was offered the A&M job. I don't think anybody was surprised that he was offered the Notre Dame job. I think people were anticipating that his name was going to be a commodity in the offseason. He was a Broyles Award finalist. He had the number one offense in the country. He had the Heisman Trophy Award winner. He had the best receiver in the sport. He had the best offensive line in the sport. I mean, you had all types of things that people were going to be paying attention to, like what's going on down there on offense. We want some of that. So his name being kicked around, I don't think really people at LSU were prepared for that. And then once the Notre Dame job opened up and his name was being, floated, I guarantee you Brian Kelly knows him well enough to understand, like, hey, if that Notre Dame job ever opens up, we need to start making contingency plans because he wants to go home. He wants to go home. He wants to be closer to, his family. He wants to be able to make that move. So I believe that Kelly, staff, LSU prepared for this. Like they were prepared for Denbrock to move. And I think it's probably been well explained to both Hankton and Sloan of the plan, what the expectation is, how it's going to work, and how it's going down. I got to imagine that. We'll talk to Wilson Alexander at 8:15 this morning and ask him more. Wilson has no doubt had his thumb on the pulse of this since the story broke on Friday, and we'll ask him what his expectations are here with this job being open. But I do not believe that this is some monumental shakeup. I would just say that my top priority would be keeping Hankton and Sloan intact, happy, on the job, and keep them moving as it goes. And how you fill a void on that part of the staff, I think is a little bit lagniappe. I don't think that you necessarily have to go out and find some dominant offensive coordinator if you want to stick with Sloan and Hankton. Maybe you go find another quarterbacks coach. Maybe you go find somebody to help you out with wide receiver, another recruiter, right? Like somebody who's a dominant recruiter. You've got developers. Go find somebody that can win in the living room. Who knows what the criteria is for the next job or whatever vacancy they fill there. I'm very confident that whoever they get is going to be able to slide into a staff that's elite. If they keep Hankton and Sloan in place, you've got Brad Davis and Frank Wilson. You can win in any league on any level with those guys. Defensively, I still expect there to be a shakeup. I still expect there to be position group moves at defensive line and at defensive back. I expect those two jobs to open up, and the more and more we talk to people around, we gave you the names here first. We can pull the film. I know everybody out there is about keeping score and who's right, who's wrong. We floated Bo Davis and Corey Raymond over a month ago of potential guys and names to watch out for as who could be next. As the days continue to go on, Corey Raymond is still available. You mean to tell me that Raymond's not getting sniffed or looked at by anybody after the success that he's had in coaching college football? Something's up. And then Bo Davis and Texas
wasn't on the road.
If you were watching the last 3 days of official visits, Colin Simmons, who was number one on Texas's board, the number one player in the state of Texas. Texas, broke the bank, really, not break the bank for Texas, but they made sure that the money was right on Simmons. They were never going to run out of money for Simmons. If LSU offered $1.2 million, they would have offered $1.3 million. If LSU would have offered $2.3 million, they'd offer $2.4 million. They were never going to run out of money for Simmons. Bo Davis was the lead recruiter on Simmons for 2.5 years. 2.5 years, Davis was the guy that was beating down the doors and beating the bricks for Simmons. They finally get him to sign his letter of intent, and Davis is not even in the living room there to take the picture? Something's up. That's a pretty big deal. The more I talk to people over at Texas, the more they believe that, something might be happening. So watch out for those two names. At least for those two position groups, I think that LSU is in play for Raymond and Davis. I expect there to be moves on the defensive staff. I expect at this point Matt House to be back. Matt House could be looking for work in the NFL. He could be looking for another job. But as far as him being relieved of his duties at LSU because of what happened in 2023, I do not expect that to happen. So, I mean, that's the stance of where I see it. At least from the vacancies and where they are now and potential vacancies on LSU staff.
And maybe that's why Denbrock left. He looked across the room and said, "Oh shit, I'm gonna run it back with Matt House and no Jaden Daniels. I think I'll go take that payday." The funniest thing about this entire thing is Notre Dame really thought they did something. Like you could look at us and they'd say like, "Oh, they're bitter that LSU lost their offensive coordinator, a Broyles finalist." The one thing you didn't get was the talent. Look at what happened when Mike Denbrock came to Louisiana versus the alternative. That's what Notre Dame fans I would imagine, don't realize is that you don't have Malik Neighbors.
Jaden Daniels.
He ain't coming with him, coach. I mean, like, Mike Denbrock has been notoriously has been a.
Hey man, look,
he's a good coach.
Good for Denbrock.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
I'll go out on a limb and say he
like,
won't even see a Shelton Sampson at Notre Dame.
It is great for Denbrock.
It's just
like, I mean, he's the huge winner on this thing.
Yeah,
he got the bag.
He's the one that gets the security. You go home, you get the job. I mean, all of that. But yeah, I mean,
Notre
like
Dame will score 30 points a game.
I was about to say, you got Riley Leonard, cool. That ain't Jaden Daniels. I'm just saying, like, if they think that they're going to go in and put up 40 points a game all of a sudden and have the number one offense in the country, I think you're sorely mistaken.
Trey-Daz Green's not walking through that door.
He can't fit through that door.
You know what I mean?
Welcome, meet your new touchdown, Jesus.
They ain't never seen Trey-Daz Green in South Bend.
Kamorian Pimpton.
They ain't never
walking
seen
through that door.
Right? I mean, forget Jaden, Malik, and Brian Thomas.
Closest they got to is Cole Kmet.
You know?
Tight end.
Look at Logan Diggs at LSU versus Notre Dame.
Exactly. You know, I mean, and again, this
Congratulations.
is no disparity on Denbrock. Like, I mean, but as far as the staff goes, keeping Hankton and Sloan, in my opinion, are much more of a high priority than matching the payday that Denbrock got at LSU. I mean, just simple, right? Remember our friends over at Hughes Mechanical. Hughes Mechanical Contractors, AC, residential and commercial HVAC services they can help you with over at Hughes Mechanical. Get in touch with Travis Hughes and the crew, 225-658-2147, hughesmechanical.net, hughesmechanical.net, online, Hughes Mechanical Contractors. Hour 2, coming back with you, we will have Wilson Alexander. We will also talk to Jacques, who's down in Tampa. What's going on?
Jake Peets.
So I'm just thinking about this, what this man told Hold the Mayo. It's a lot of love there.
Yeah, I was laughing at Andrew Messina said, "Hey, we can get Jake Peets back."
Oh my goodness!
So we are
Canada. Jake Peets co-OCs. Jake Peets never got a fair shake.
Break the pool stick and make him fight about it.
Yeah, I still don't think Jake Peets got a fair shake.
I could argue Durante Jones did get a fair shake.
Nobody on that 2021 staff got a fair shake of anything.
Nobody can be judged on that.
Beat the drum.
There is a piece of content that exists from our friend Hold the Mayo. If you have not followed him on social, he's all over the place. He does great work. I saw somebody say that he is becoming the Paul Feinbaum of the New Orleans Saints. He's got a post-game show that he has call-ins for, and a call-in came to Hold the Mayo last week that is just content gold. I mean, like, it almost sounds like it's out of a movie. It almost sounds like it's too good to be true. I mean, Hollywood casting could not have casted this content any better than the organic feel of it. I mean, it sounds directly out of Chalmette. We will have this content for you in the second hour. Come back with us. Hold the Mayo, a good friend. He's doing great work down there. Make sure you're following him on social media and getting his merchandise is blowing up as well. All right, so hour 2 coming up next. Like, share, subscribe. We'll be right back. Jordy Culotta Show is always live here from Click Here Digital on this Wednesday morning.
Do that.
Hey, Chino.
go. Let's spell greatness from the top. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
Okay, Gordon, ready to talk a little bit about yourself today? Okay, good. Tell us, who is Gordon McCurdy?
Great question. In a lot of ways, I'm just like most people. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a son. I am a brother. I'm a Christian. I am a Tigers fan. I am a Louisiana sportsman. But above all, I am grateful to the people of Louisiana. We want to be your lawyers for life.
Get Gordon and get it done. Get Gordon and get it done. Corrects done. Personal injury done. Workers' comp done. Truck wrecks done. Get Gordon and get it done. Get Gordon and get it done.
Offensive player of the game from LSU, Joe Burrow.
Football is life. Football is Joe Burrow.
If you're in the market for a mortgage lender, you need to start with Doug Bickley and his team. Bickley has built a crew with over 50 years of combined lending experience. They've been in business for over 20 years, and they love helping their clients achieve the American dream of home ownership. They're also key with working in real estate agents and helping their clients getting same-day pre-approval. They average about one buyer a day getting them in a home. If you want to get in touch with Doug and his crew, it's easy. Call them 225-214-5154. 225-214-5154. Go see the Bickley team today. They're located on the corner of Coursey Boulevard and Sherwood Forest right here in Baton Rouge.
What's up?
What's happening?
Chilling with a couple of cool guys. You?
Chilling and watching some tube. Hold on.
Did you do it?
Hold on. Did you do it?
Rusa.
Hold on.
Rusa.
Rusa!
Rusa.
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on.
Beautiful roof every single time.
True. True.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Head health is incredibly important for our student athletes. One of the best ways we're trying to address concussions is on the front end. We're trying to prevent these before they happen. And a big part of that is speaking to the athletes, letting them know what to expect. Okay, speaking to the parents, what to look out for, talking to the coaches so they know the vital importance. Some of the big things we're looking for with a concussion, which is, a traumatic brain injury, is one, was there a mechanism? Was there an injury that took place that could lead to this? Often a direct blow to the head, a head-to-head hit. If someone's showing signs of concussion, our first step is always to remove them from activity, get them to a place where there's less stimuli, where we can really just sit down and get a feel for the athlete, what they're feeling. We're looking for headache, we're looking for dizziness, any sign that coordination is off, that something's just not right. Get a good evaluation of them to understand what's going on. It's not worth the risk that may be there to kind of ignore it, because there are very serious consequences if we don't treat a concussion properly.
Don't let concerns about shifts in the market disrupt your long-term financial goals. Edward Jones financial advisor Daniel Newman can help. He'll work with you on an investment strategy for long-term results. Edward Jones can give you the tools and knowledge for a steady approach to hitting your financial targets. Get started today by calling Daniel Newman at 225-261-8262. 225-261-8262. Edward Jones, member SIPC. Click Here Digital, the home of the Jordy Culotta Show. Online at clickheredigital.com. If you're looking to set Google ads, set social media campaigns, learn about SEO, display video, or even creative, Click Here Digital has the answer for you. Online at clickheredigital.com or email me directly, Jordy at clickheredigital.com.
Cut my headphones up, bro. Yeah, right there. Now I'm focused on getting deposits. Evil in the way, now I'm just driving around it. They said I need a soul searching, I already found it. I unlocked my other side, now I'm sounding astounded. Drive by and let it ride like I'm whipping a Tesla. Pressure never fazed me, cause I'm bigger than pressure. I'm on my grind, bullshit, can't fit on my schedule. I'ma do what's best with me, you can keep all your lectures. Spend the summer stacking bread, might be gone till November. Pulling up like Trey Young just to freeze up December. I got niggas on the block like traditional sinners. OGs love me, so I hang with traditional winners. I took a break for a minute, I had to go charge up. Had to focus on my business, I'm coming back smarter. All
right, gonna get to the Hold the Mayo content later this hour. Heads up, it's gonna have some cursing. So if you want it, stick around. It'll be after our guests of Wilson, Alexander, and Jacques. But it is content gold.
Something you have to see.
It is
something you have to see.
Fun. It is unbelievable.
Well, that's the funniest thing about the Saints fan base is they can't quit themselves. Like, no matter how bad it feels like things are for the Saints, it's still I care so much. It's still a hoot at the end. Like, they can't help. They can't even. They can be as mad as they want, but they're watching every Sunday.
Yeah.
And
it's a drug.
I love this.
You know, I mean, it's
love there.
Yeah, it is a love-hate relationship, and for someone who is like my son's age, who is 12, and full disclosure, I did show him the content because he walked in, it was happening. He was like, "What is that?" Because I was crying, laughing. And I said, "Jay, sit down." And I said, "Look, man,
has some colorful language.
This is what being a Saints fan was like forever. Like, I'm telling you, you have no idea." Like, Jordy, he's born in 2011.
Oh,
I mean, like,
he was in
this is after the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he had the lead up of the Super Bowl. Like, he expects the Saints. Like, I mean, he was at the Nola No Call. He was at Breeze's. You know, he was at Breeze breaking the record game on Monday night. He was
the pamphlet game.
I mean, he's been at these games where you're like, being a Saints fan is cool.
Yeah, it's easy.
It's easy.
He's a silver spoon Saints fan.
Absolutely. Yes. I said, Jordan,
we say it's easy.
You want to know what being a Saints fan was like for 50 years before you were born? I mean, like, before you even came on, but when the franchise announced it was coming on All Saints Day in the 60s, they used to wear bags over their head. They never won. They expected to lose. People would come here and get hurt. It was a graveyard for pro sports. I mean, it was up there like with the Clippers and the Bengals and it was just a horrific
laughingstock.
Horrific place. And this is a time capsule for you, son, to listen what it was like growing up during that time. And it's as funny as content as I have heard in a long time. And we'll play it for you coming up here at around 8:50, 8:45. So come back with us or stick around.
I guess that would be 2020, 2021 for LSU. Like, where if you didn't know, it's like, oh, no, this is kind of how it was like this for a minute.
This was what the 90s were like.
Right. Like, we didn't know success, son. Well,
it was like if you were there in 01. I mean, I tell the story. You know, I mean, we were being at the SEC championship game in 2001 was a moment for an LSU fan. I mean, my buddy Ben Harger and I were there together, and Harger and I are the same age, from Baton Rouge, kind of grew up with our people going to the game, saw all the struggle, saw our people, boozing before the game, after the game, cussing the coach, couldn't believe it, hated Bama, hated everybody. LSU's never going to win, so it's like osmosis. You're like, well, I'm miserable too. You know what I mean? Like,
I hate my life.
Yeah, like, I hate LSU too. Like, I mean, like, they're always going to blow, and like, you go to this SEC title game in 01, and you're like, oh, my God, we're here.
They don't win these games.
We're here. Like, and they won. And then, like 20 years later, You're like, wow. I mean,
you're
you
still
almost
hanging on to the roller coaster.
Yeah, you're like, sometimes you're like, it's amazing that you still are in this class. But if you don't have any idea of like pre-01 as an LSU fan, yeah, it's probably very, in comparison's sake, of being a Saints fan over that time stretch where you don't get it. I mean, like you don't understand. It's like having a conversation with somebody that has kids and that does not have kids. Like, it's nothing against you. You really can't comment on this. You don't know it until you get it. You know what I mean? And now for Saints fans who are like, wait, huh? How are they this incompetent? You're like, well, no. Really, the last 16, 17 years, you were saying, how are they this successful? Like, because it's always been a disaster. And now, I mean, with Loomis and Benson and Gale, it just feels. And wait till you hear this content if you have not heard it.
But it feels like for at least in the Saints case, they never really had any intentions of being good, but then you caught lightning in a bottle with Sean Payton and Drew Brees, and then now this is more of how they would rather the franchise be run. This is just a moneymaker. We have no intent to try to actually make noise in the playoffs. Like the Derek Carr signing is the perfect example of that. It's like, oh, this makes it look like we're trying as a franchise. Like, no, I mean, the guy got kicked off his own team while he was still on it.
Carr, he had to give the offensive linemen like Rolexes and new cars for Christmas, like to get some respect back in the room. I mean, I saw what he was giving them. I mean, it was like, bro, look, man, it's over.
I'm sorry,
it's over.
I stink.
Pack up.
Let's fight about it on the field some more. Like, there's not one clip of him celebrating with somebody where it looks like they actually want to celebrate with them. Like, everything else is contrived, and then the arguments look real though. Like, this is how I really feel.
Yeah, they're beefing for sure. Man.
Like, I couldn't imagine being in that locker room because it just doesn't seem like a safe space for old Derek.
Remember Katie's Restaurant down in New Orleans? Katie's is located on Iberville Street. Great New Orleans favorite, cold beer. Get over there for fantastic service. Check out our friend Scott Craig and his crew at Katie's. Katie'sInMidCity.com. Katie'sInMidCity.com is the web address if you want to figure out and take a look at the menu before you get down there. Francesca's is their sister restaurant located in Lakeview. That you can stop in a little sandwich deli that's fantastic. Katie'sInMidCity.com. Katie'sInMidCity.com is the website. They're located on Iberville Street, been around since 1984. One of our favorites. Stop in and see Katie's today. Tell them you heard it right here on the show. All right, we'll get down and talk more LSU here. Wilson Alexander is going to stop by next, and we'll talk to Wilson about what's coming up for LSU. They're in bowl preparation. Obviously, they are getting ready for Wisconsin on Monday. Offensive coordinator role has been filled in the interim by guys on staff, and Cortez Hankton, the wide receiver and passing game coordinator, along with Joe Sloan, who's the quarterback's coach. Will ask him, Wilson, what he anticipates that role to look like for game day, and then ultimately what it'll look like from a permanent standpoint moving forward as he'll stop by here next. Come right back with us. Sorry for the quick break, but want to turn the guest over. We'll come right back with you with more of the show. Live here on this Wednesday, a December 27th edition, as always, brought to you by our friends over at Click Here Digital, where we are live daily. Come right back with us.
Get Wilson off the charger.
Can't let you fold up. Keep pushing. Can't let you slow up.
Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by Hebert's Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, Hebert's Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. Hebert's can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. Hebert's Lawn Maintenance.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Thanks.
And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Hey Tiger fans, when you're traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit Tom and Wright Granning at Go Mart and On The Go Deli, where you can fill up your tank and your belly. Go Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip. Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left. Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, where the Po' Boys are so good you'll swear you're in Cajun country.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
All right, buddy. Make it a good shot.
Oh, yeah.
Sticking the roof in.
For a hole in your roof, or a whole new roof, go roof. Roof, roof, go roof.
Hey, Greg, the roof up?
Roof's up.
Roof's up.
Roof's up.
Roof's up?
Roof's up.
Roof's up! Beautiful roof every single time.
True. True.
Well, the Auctioner Andrews Sports Medicine Institute collaborative effort was an idea from Dr. Andrews and myself to bring together two great names, the Andrews name and the Auctioner name, to elevate the quality of care for athletes in the state of Louisiana, where he's from.
I always thought I would come back to Louisiana and practice orthopedics with my subspecialty being sports medicine. This was an opportunity through Auctioners to come back and work the entire state to help develop and take sports medicine to a new level.
As an orthopedic surgeon, what this means in the future in terms of, access for our community to the type of care that Dr. Andrews pioneered, words can't describe how valuable that is.
Auctioner has a great opportunity here to really grow, and Dr. Burnham, of course, is the mainstay of making that happen. If you want to have first-class sports medicine care, check in with Dr. Burnham and his group, and you'll be more than impressed and pleased.
Fourier Insurance Agency, established in 1946, helping you with your home, auto, commercial, life and health insurance needs. Around in Baton Rouge at 4275 Government Street and online at FourierAgency.com. Whatever insurance you're in the market for, home, auto, commercial, contractors, life and health, get in touch with Fourier Insurance Agency, FourierAgency.com, or give them a call at 225-383-0682. Fourier Agency. All right, welcome back. Jordy Culotta Show live here on this Wednesday. Like, share, follow, subscribe if you have not done so. We appreciate you being here. Jacques' going to stop by in about 10 minutes as we will be down in Tampa, and we will log in and log up with Jacques. But first, Wilson Alexander, who is a regular here every Tuesday. Of course, Wilson covers LSU football for The Advocate and NOLA.com. He is the best. We talk to him every Tuesday. He's an award winner. And he is with LSU as Tigers getting ready for bowl preparation and the Reliaquest Bowl coming up in Tampa on Monday versus Wisconsin. Wilson, Merry belated Christmas, Happy
He didn't log
holidays
back
to you. He didn't log back in just yet. All right, we'll wait till we have Wilson up. We had him in the break.
Just log back in.
And
did?
we will
He's back.
we will hit him up.
Nope,
The
he did
update.
not.
Oh, Wilson.
And we will also talk to Jacques.
Rebooting.
Jacques. Jacques said that he joined.
God damn it, Stuart. No, I'm kidding. It happens all the time. An all-time moment was when we had, what was it, Deshaun Womack was supposed to come on?
Was it Jay
And then
Cicero?
Jay Cicero hopped in instead. and we had...
Don't look like a 5-star
that
to me,
didn't look
buddy.
like a 5. That's not it. Jordy goes, oh, Deshaun? That is an old white man. I don't think you want to play defensive end for LSU, but good to see you, Jay. It's just it's a matter of getting the links mixed up. So one at a time. One day we'll find out a way to do 2 at a time, which I've tried before, but then they can't hear each other. They can only hear us. So we had whenever For the People was a podcast with John Peterson and his guy. We had them both on at the same time. They couldn't hear each other, but they could hear us and we could hear them. So it's comedy. High comedy.
Sorry, I'm just communicating this to our guest.
Yes, I'm just filibustering.
So we should have Wilson here in a minute. As he'll be checking back
But
in.
see, I send the link with the time on it. So like,
yeah, but some people like to hop in.
Yeah, I think JD's just an early guy.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, we have no.
Got to get the hair right.
We've got no
control.
Yeah,
and we've got no reference on that. We don't understand that. You know, I mean, all of us by nature show up. If it's at 3:00, we're 2:59 guys. Some of us 3:05 guys.
That'd be me.
Right.
Like I'm logging in.
But logging in, 15 minutes early for your meeting is not our speed.
That's how you become a sports director.
Right. That's how you get the corner office.
You just go,
you win the awards.
I'll just do it now.
So let me know. I see Wilson now. All right, buddy. Our fault, Wilson. We'll take the L on this one. Merry belated Christmas to you. Happy holidays. It is good to see you. Let's jump right into it, man. A lot has happened, obviously, since the last time we had spoke. Wow.
All right, Jack.
Oh, what's happening?
No. All right, give me 2 seconds. I'm coming right back. Sorry. I'll be right back.
So generate a new link and send.
Hey, Chino. Cut my headphones up, bro. Yeah, right there.
Hold on.
Wilson. Jacques screwing us up. It's always the TV guys. Good to see you. Oh, no.
Oh, we're on a break.
Hang on.
We're on a break. Hang on. Audio. Do I have to get up? I'll check. Hold on.
All right, we got a filibuster again here. We're gonna get Wilson's audio getting moving here. This is not a good look. Welcome back. We're closing out 2023 in bad fashion here. We're gonna get Wilson's audio up here. We're gonna talk LSU and the bowl game here, and obviously we want to get Wilson's thought on the offensive coordinator. What is what's going to be the play calling duties for Sloan and Hankton in this role, as these guys will be serving as co-offensive coordinators, and we want to see really how much is this a job interview? I mean, is this for these two guys? Is this an opportunity to be able to figure it out, and almost a something that they can use to possibly get the job? So we will talk to Wilson about that, about what's going on with Sloan, and then of course the future of the job, right? I mean, how much are these guys in play for the possibility of being the long-term answer as the offensive coordinator at LSU, and what would that keep those guys on staff and open up other opportunities for other people on staff? So a lot to get to with Wilson as well as the transfer portal, recruiting, and what happened last week with signing day, what it meant for LSU to pick up another offensive lineman in Caden Eccles last week, which was a huge get. Cohen Eccles, which was a huge get for Brad Davis and the staff and LSU in the offense. So we will talk to Wilson about that coming up here in in a second. We good here, Wilson?
I can hear you guys.
Yes, it's great to talk to you, buddy. It's great to talk to you. Merry Christmas, Lloyd for the win.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
All right, so Wilson, huge news since the last time we talked. Offensive coordinator job opens up. What was your reaction of Denbrock taking the job first at Notre Dame?
It was surprising to me only that because he had 16 days earlier accepted, at least verbally, that 3-year extension from LSU. It was pretty lucrative. Certainly when you added in incentives and stuff, it was getting up close to or was already around, the official term was never released, but around that $2 million range, or at least in the high ones. And, but he had never signed it. And so we don't know the official number necessarily because we don't have any official documentation because LSU didn't have any official documentation to ever release because he was never signed it. And so obviously when you don't have that thing signed, then that reduced his buyout significantly. And Notre Dame was able to get him away. And it makes some sense for Mike in terms of going back.
Jacques Doucet. We haven't had a day like this in quite some time.
It is, JD.
Is it really?
Logged in. Yep.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Man. All right. We're going to set this up.
Let's go to a break.
Let me set this up so I can call Jacques. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
I'm on my grind, bullshit. Can't fit in my schedule. I'ma do what's best with me. You can keep all your lectures. Spend the summer stacking bread, might be gone to November. Pulling up like Trey Young just to freeze up December. I got.
PCS, let's be special. Let's be strong. Let's smell greatness from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
Okay, Gordon, ready to talk a little bit about yourself today? Okay, good. Tell us, who is Gordon McKernan?
Great question. In a lot of ways, I'm just like most people. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a son. I am a brother. I'm a Christian. I am a Tigers fan. I am a Louisiana sportsman. But above all, I am grateful to the people of Louisiana. We want to be your lawyers for life.
It's on the blood like traditional sinners. OGs love me, so I hang with traditional winners. I took a break for a minute, I had to go charge up. Had to focus on my business, I'm coming back smarter. Hit up DJ, tell him go like I'm dropping the Carter. Coming back like KD, it's time to go harder. Bounce back.
All right, Wilson, Alexander, let's jump right back into it. Sorry about that. We got everything figured out with Jacques. He'll be here in about 10 minutes. We'll talk to him. He's down in Tampa. All right, you mentioned the Denbrock situation, and he accepts the role at Notre Dame. Now they move on to Cortez Hankton and Joe Sloan in a co-offensive coordinator role. Wilson, what do you think about that move? And is this bowl game kind of a quasi-interview for this?
Well, it makes perfect sense, certainly for the bowl game, because of the experience those guys have, the positions they're in on the offensive side of the ball. And this does feel like a bit of an interview, or at least maybe like a trial run to see if this is something that would work long term. Because I was told kind of right after Denbrock left that LSU had quite a bit of interest in maybe elevating Joe Sloan and Cortez Hankton in their roles on staff, especially because of what they've already done as recruiters and wanting to keep those two around. Especially with what the offense accomplished this year, both of them now going into next season, the third year of their contracts, they were probably due for some kind of extension at least anyway. But now that might come with maybe some job title differences, or at least some certain different responsibilities, and a little bit more increased roles and maybe the game planning. Obviously, it's they've always said that it's collaborative to a degree, but actually being maybe those co-offensive coordinators, or at least one of them getting that role of OC, and the other one maybe because Cortez is already the passing game coordinator. Maybe that's something where we see Joe Sloan get an offensive coordinator title, but Cortez, maybe his title doesn't change, but he has a little bit different roles in terms of the game plan. I don't know, we'll see, but it does feel like that's something that is possible, is those two getting elevated roles, and this maybe being a trial run for that. They are definitely candidates for this position.
Does it feel like they may be the leaders in it right now if you were making a list?
They would be at the top of my list for sure. I mean, those are the kind of the names that I've heard the most, right out of the gate here, and at least on Friday, and then, everything kind of quieted down over the weekend with the holiday and all that. So we'll have to kind of pick it back up and see if, and maybe Brian Kelly's changing things, maybe his thinking changes, but, he also, maybe he gets a call or, through an agent or something like that, through the grapevine, so-and-so's really interested in that changes. But I think right initially, it really seemed like those two were the leaders.
Real quick, Wilson, going back to Denbrock on his contract situation, you didn't think the board, its approval was a real big holdup on this, right? I mean, if LSU needed the confirmation that the board was going to approve it, they would have been able to move and get that for Denbrock, right?
Yeah, the board was never a holdup in this situation. Whenever the actual, in this case, it would have been like an updated contract or a term sheet or even just a memorandum of agreement. Whenever that gets in front of the board, it's just a formality at that point. It's rubber stamped, it's done. And that was never, an issue with the board of supervisors, his contract. And the athletics contracts, rarely are. And so it was just because he had not signed it. They had documentation worked up, but pen never got put to paper and in that 16-day period. And so there was nothing that LSU ever even officially had to hold him to that contract. So in terms of getting to board approval, that's would have, because he signed it agreed to it verbally on December 6th, and by December 8th was the next board meeting. It couldn't have gotten in there quick enough, and the next one's not till February 23rd anyway. But that was never a holdup in this because he could have signed that document and then it much later get formally approved by the board. Mm-hmm. And that's what usually happens all the time. So that was never an issue in this scenario.
Transfer portal news up and moving here. We saw National Signing Day last week since you and I have spoke. What did you make of some of the new additions for LSU officially as they've come aboard from at least a signing standpoint?
Well, it was just fascinating sitting there on signing day with absolutely no drama whatsoever. Yeah. It's so different from what you're used to in the signing world and in the recruiting world. And so, LSU did a good job of getting its commitments in early and getting them secured and solid. And then in terms of what they picked up, I was particularly impressed with what Brad Davis has done on the offensive line, and especially getting Cohen Eccles on Friday. I mean, the way that they've rebuilt that position over the last few years for that to now be a strength of this offense and really of this team on the roster is you look at the offensive line and think, man, that's a really good group. And they're building now, through those freshman ranks like Brian Kelly wants to, because you don't really need to bring in a whole bunch of transfers because of the guys you've been able to retain over the last few years, at least, going into next season. It's just really been an impressive haul there by Brad Davis to now get 6 in this class. And they also, at least in terms of bodies, got some guys in the secondary. We'll see how folks pan out in certain different areas. Definitely got some offensive weapons weapons too. And so, the way it is with recruiting, it's got to wait maybe a couple of years to see how guys develop and see how things really pan out. But they at least addressed some positional needs in terms of, needing certain positions on the roster, and that offensive line haul is particularly impressive.
What have you made of this shift in mindset here in year 3 of Kelly, where it's now heavy on high schoolers and limited on transfer portal, rather than the comparison of the first 2 years where it's been heavy portal in bringing guys in?
As he's always said, this is what he wanted to get to, and it was always going to take a couple of years to do that because he needed to balance immediate needs with, building up through those freshman ranks. And now it seemed like in year 3, the roster is at least in a position where they could kind of get closer to that. Obviously, as we've seen, they've already added 3 transfers. They're probably going to add some more. They kind of need to add some more in a few spots. And so it's not like they're ever going to get completely away from the transfer portal because you can't in modern roster management and modern roster building. You got to be able to take advantage of that and, fill holes and patch things in certain spots. But now it's a matter of just patching a need here and there, adding 1, maybe 2 cornerbacks, even though we haven't seen them add one yet, instead of going to get 4. That's kind of the difference here is that they can, be very targeted as the word that Kelly has used before in their approach because, they've got a roster that is built up a little bit more in terms of the top to bottom depth. We'll kind of see how that translates to the field, but at least in terms of actual roster management, it's getting closer to what Kelly envisioned.
From a transfer portal standpoint, what did you make of a couple of the additions they made there? And then we got the news yesterday that Duce Chestnut has put his name officially into the portal. So I guess the Chestnut experience at LSU comes to a close officially. Yeah,
it was not a surprise that Duce entered the portal at some point in this period. for what it's worth, we had seen him take LSU out of all of his social media. That is not necessarily representative of what somebody's really doing, but it seemed like, from both sides, they maybe moved on. And so not a surprise that he enters the transfer portal, especially now that, guys can transfer multiple times without penalty. And especially, the NCAA saying if you enter in this fall, sort of winter window, you'll be eligible next season. So not a surprise there with how this year went in that regard. And in terms of what LSU has added, kind of like what we're saying, they needed a safety. They went and they got a safety. Needed a experienced receiver and a return man. Got one of those. Needed a backup, potentially quarterback who could also compete for the starting job. At least push maybe Garrett Nussmeier. We'll see. And got one of those as well. And so, it seems like they still probably need to add a few things in the transfer portal, especially we're talking about maybe a cornerback or two, if maybe another safety pops, or depending on what Major Burns does, maybe a safety. Some defensive tackle help might be helpful as well, even though they really like Sean Washington. But they've at least been able to add at a few positions of need and get some guys who look like they're going to be able to go into the lineup, particularly at least with Xavion and Jordan Gilbert right away.
We did expect staff movement in the offseason or here in the short term. Not on the offensive side. Anything shaken up on the defensive side? Anything you're watching there as far as a timeline is concerned? I know I ask you this every week, and we're kind of stuck in neutral here, but another week has passed. Any news pop up on this?
Well, obviously not just yet. It seems like now that we're past the holidays and now that we're also past, signing day being the more significant thing on the football calendar, with the bowl game still looming up ahead, the team just getting down to Tampa yesterday, that is probably not going to happen until after the bowl game. And we'll kind of see, as has been mentioned multiple times, Brian Kelly waited until February to really reassign Brian Polian. He's also made moves like really quickly, and I think it just kind of depends. He sees this defensive staff as a little bit more complex than just one person needs to go, based on what he's said so far anyway. With the analogy he made to the 2016 firing of Brian Van Gorder and how he just did that after 4 games because he thought it was one person. And then in this case, he said it's not that easy. So we'll kind of see how it shakes out. I would expect something to maybe not come until after the bowl game, especially now that they're all in Tampa, get through the bowl game, and then be able to maybe make some moves. And we'll kind of see what those end up being exactly.
Any idea of what Jaden Daniels' role will be here? I know he's not playing, but will he be around the team? Will he be
offensive coordinator?
Yeah, right. What his not necessarily purpose, but just kind of what his point of view will be during this preparation and bowl game.
Yeah, so he was with the team on last Tuesday and just watching from the sideline, and that's kind of what his role would be, is just off to the side, observing, being there for, emotional support, basically. He's not really going to be involved in the team. We didn't see him at practice on Thursday and heard that he basically left at that point, but he was going to then, rejoin the team closer to the game and come down there just to basically watch from the sidelines is kind of what he'll be doing. It's not like he's going to be heavily involved, at least from what I understand, in game planning or anything like that, or in sort of that schematic prep. That's going to involve more on, Joe Sloan, Cortez, and with Garrett Nussmeier's input as well, and some of the other staff members who are involved in those things, because they need to now tailor it toward, Garrett, and he's got to be able to say what he wants, like Jaden did the last 2 years. And so he'll come and he'll provide that kind of emotional support, like the thing that you would want from a captain, and be down there on the sideline on game day.
Last one, Wilson. We'll get you out of here. Appreciate your patience with us this morning. One of, I guess, the good rules of a bowl game is it allows you to play some of these young guys without penalty of losing eligibility of a red shirt. Anybody in particular that you have seen through prep or through the season that this rule may apply to, that you're interested in seeing reps come Monday because of just the ability of watching these guys play?
Yeah, I can't remember right off the top of my head who was at 4 games and will now be able to get a 5th, but some names that come to mind who might kind of match up like that, who just haven't played a lot. Jackson Howard, I think they're really interested to get him into this game. I think this might be his 5th of the season. He started playing a little bit near the end of the year because he'd only played in a couple of games and it wasn't going to burn his red shirt, and so he might be able to have a role. Someone like Trey Holly, Obviously, we've already seen, certainly more than 4 games out of a bunch of the freshmen like Deshaun Womack and Whit Weeks and Caleb Jackson, but those are all still guys who can get maybe even some more playing time in this game as you start to build toward next season. And also those freshman receivers. Somebody who stood out on bowl practice last week was Shelton Sampson. Someone like him, again, I don't know exactly how many games he's played, but this is still a bowl that's an opportunity for him maybe to do something. When Malik Neighbors was sitting out of practice last Thursday, Shelton caught a touchdown. We saw him have a great one-on-one rep against Sage Ryan on Tuesday. And, as LSU starts to look toward that receiver room next year, maybe he and some of these other freshman receivers who don't even have a catch this season can get on the field and maybe change that.
I lied. This is the last one. What do you think of Mekhi Wingo and Mason Smith and those guys like practicing, and when do you anticipate to hear what their plans may be for their future?
Mekhi said last week that he would not be making a decision or at least make an announcement on what he's wanting to do until after the bowl game. He said in terms of why he's practicing right now, it's that he wants to be out there with his teammates because he's a captain. And that really speaks a lot to who we've always heard Mekhi is that, he is coming off of a core muscle surgery that sounded kind of a little bit gruesome when he was describing it. And he's like, oh, it's not that bad. But it's still something that, he came back from, does not have to be playing in this game at all. And even if he was coming back to LSU next season, he could be sitting out and just rehabbing. But he wanted to get back and be out there. And that's really, a lot of what we've heard about Mekhi over the last couple of years, a big reason why he's wearing number 18. And so he says that it doesn't have to do with his decision going into next year just yet. That's something he'll make after the bowl. And we'll probably hear similarly from the guys like Mason, Jacoby, and Guillory there on the defensive line who are draft eligible as to what they'll be doing after the bowl game. Maybe we'll be able to find out if we're able to talk to them before the bowl game like we have with Kyron Lacey and some of these other players, Greg Penn. But as of now, I think it'll probably be something that we hear after the bowl. But remember, Brian Kelly said when asked about defensive tackle that they feel good about retention. So that would signal that at least some of these guys are coming back.
Wilson, are you in Tampa now, or when do you make your way there?
I'll be headed down there tomorrow early, and get down there. And as of now, just swinging through Atlanta to see the family here for the holiday real quick.
Nice. Wilson Alexander, make sure and follow him on social for all of the updates, as Wilson will be down in Tampa for bowl preparation of LSU versus Wisconsin coming up Monday at WH_Alexander_. And you can catch him here every single week. Happy New Year, buddy. We'll see you soon.
Happy New Year, everybody.
All right, man, there he is.
Thank you, sir.
As Wilson, very patient with us this morning.
Wilson Alexander.
As we appreciate Wilson. Good stuff as he checked in there.
Now you're just going to let Jacques know that
I just told him. So when you get Jacques, let me know, please, as he should be checking in here pretty shortly, and we should be able to just bounce over to him. Remember Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works? Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works, located in Plaquemine, but of course 2 trucks over here in Baton Rouge, working every single day. So if you need some help over in East Baton Rouge Parish, Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works can help you out today. You can get directly in touch with Jude Barker and the crew by dialing 225-776-2431, 225-776-2431. Mention the show and save 15% over at Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works. Jude Barker and the crew. So we appreciate him, and thanks to Wilson for his patience this morning and for stopping by and telling us about what's happening.
I wouldn't imagine Jacoby and Guillory is entertaining the NFL. No, and for Jordan Jefferson,
I think Jefferson's out of eligibility.
Is he out? Yeah. That's what I was going to ask. I don't know if he had a COVID year or if he's going strictly NFL. Because I'm just thinking of guys.
Yeah, if I was a guy like Jefferson, I think he put enough. Yeah, I mean, I would, but I mean, I think he's put enough tape. He had a pretty good end of the season, I thought.
Well, the more he got out there, the better he became. There's kind of started. That's why you start looking around and going, could have helped to have a defensive line coach.
I do not believe that Mekhi Wingo would come back if I'm voting now. And I think that Mason Smith is a great wild card in the sense of, hey, look, if you can get somebody in from a recruiting standpoint and sit this guy down and really re-recruit him, with obviously the experience that he has of already playing college football, what he knows the potential of the next level is, and where he's projected at going at this point compared to if he came back and had the season that everyone expected him to have, or at least thought that he may have the opportunity of putting down. But But now that he's healthy, he's in shape, a good offseason of not having to rehab and getting yourself into tip-top playing condition and ready for one more run and potentially making yourself a high first-round selection, you're talking an incredible amount of wealth that could change for Mason Smith depending on where the projections are. Smith is one of these guys that's a little, he's at this point in his career, he's almost an anomaly in the sense of people want him because his style, size, speed, combination of all of that stuff is very rare. It does not exist every single year in the draft where you can go get this guy that is, who was the guy out of Alabama a couple of years ago? Raekwon Davis. He's just big, strong, fast, can jump, can do things that guys at that size are just not supposed to be able to do. Mason Smith is another guy like that did just size, speed, the athleticism, the instinct, things that you saw very early on from him that exist, that he's tried to work himself back into after, a couple of injuries, and finally starting to kind of look like he's in game playing shape. You would think it with, an extended amount of time, a season where he could stay healthy and do that consecutively, it would, greatly improve his draft stock. And, it would be a win-win for everyone if it worked out, right? Obviously if LSU can get Smith back, they get, another body in that room. They get a dependable, experienced guy that potentially could be an all-league, all-American type player. And from Smith's standpoint, your first full season of playing healthy, of being in shape and getting yourself ready to go in the offseason, and, the potential of making a couple of extra $1 million. I mean, the difference of a first-round selection in the top 15 to, second round and beyond it's generational stuff. And, from a recruiting standpoint, it's a powerful pitch. I mean, it's a pitch that does not sound like, hey, just come make us better and we'll sacrifice your body. Yeah. It's, hey, look, help the program, establish some depth, be a frontline player, be a captain, be a guy that is the face of the program in 2024, all the while proving to NFL scouts that you can do it all year in shape and playing at a first-round talent. I think it would be huge if they got Smith back. I mean, it would be one of those things that Kelly can hang his hat on early on here, of somebody that, is not leaving where he necessarily shouldn't.
It would be great for the brand from what LSU used to be, right? Like, it would kind of be a turning of the page from you guys that were leaving after seasons that Mason Smith had, but it was based off purely potential, and I want to get out the program. This would be a huge coup to get him back because it shows that it's heading in some sort of direction where not only am I boosting my draft stock, but it's not I'm sprinting to the NFL just because I should.
Yeah. Let's get over to Tampa. Jacques covering it for Channel 9. Of course, he's the sports director over there, WAFB, and he is with us every Wednesday. This time he is on the road, remote, over in Tampa as LSU and Wisconsin get ready for a Monday kickoff. JD, Merry belated Christmas. Happy early New Year. It is great to see you in sunny Tampa, Florida this morning.
Great to be Jordy. Merry Christmas. Can y'all hear me all right?
Got you, brother.
We got you, JD. We got you, D.
Sound great.
Okay, got you. You speak loudly for me, Jordy, because they're doing landscaping outside here in Florida, so I'll be able to hear you. But yeah, great to see you guys. Hopefully everyone got what they wanted for Christmas. And LSU got here yesterday, as did Channel 9, and Brian Kelly will meet with the media a little bit later this morning. And we'll talk to him, and then we'll have some opportunities here and there to visit with some players and some coaches. And, well, I'd say coaches, one coach, Brian Kelly, leading into the game.
Jacques, speaking of coaches, give us your reaction to Mike Denbrock accepting the offensive coordinator job and that job opening up as LSU goes into bowl prep?
Well, look, he did a good job, a very good job. Last year, it seemed like I heard some things about the offense looked kind of vanilla, and it was nothing all that extraordinary. This year, Jaden Daniels and his two wide receivers and everybody just improved exponentially, and the offense looked great. And Mike Denbrock goes back to Notre Dame. I guess the question about that is Mike Denbrock knows something we don't in terms of what's going on at LSU moving forward. But if you read all the information about him and the fact that his family is from that area and that he's coached in that area more than once, perhaps it makes sense. But at the same time, it is a bit of a, why did he do that type scenario. I'm assuming, although we don't know yet, that Joe Sloan will be promoted, and Joe's obviously a bright young coach who's been doing this for a while. He's young, but at the same time, he's done this for a while, and I think a lot of people credit him for Jaden Daniels' improvement, and in fact, as Hankton as well in the future plans. So I didn't have I don't know if I felt all that strongly about it. I think that in the past, if we take a look at the recent history, we can say coaches have done a good job, but it's more about the X's and O's than, the Jimmies and the Joes and X's and O's. The talent to the top and elevates the team.
Yeah, without question. What do you anticipate this role of Sloan and Hankton looking like? The fans and us who cover it may be thinking a little bit too much into it with how this is going to operate, or how do you see this relationship kind of going with these two guys and them being the coordinator for this game? Is this a quasi-interview?
Yeah, I guess we're looking at it more in terms of what does it mean for Garrett Nussmeier, right? We've been talking about Garrett for a number of years, and he's never started a game. So for the first time ever, he's got the playbook. He's leading the team here in Tampa the entire week. And so it's not going to be like one of those preseason games in which a quarterback that we want to get a look at gets in, and then the surrounding cast around him isn't that good, and he's not throwing to the top guys. All indications are Brian Thomas will play, Malik Neighbor, Logan Diggs will be at running back, Josh Williams, the veterans, and then obviously the veteran offensive line and whatnot. And so I think it's more about Garrett than it is about the coaches. And then going into 2024, in which your schedule is very difficult, in which your non-conference games are USC to start the year, UCLA at home. Then conference play, you got Oklahoma coming in and whatnot. So I guess it's more about Garrett and what does this offense look like? We know that on a 3rd and 10. Garrett is not going to run for a first down as likely as Jaden Daniels will. Although Garrett in our interview said that he was clocked as high as 21 miles an hour in practice, and that was the same as Jaden. I don't know how much that's true or not, but Garrett perhaps moves better than what we've given him credit for, and so I think that's very interesting to see. Just that's to me, that's the big story, right? How does Garrett play? How does the offense look? And confident handing the keys over to Garrett Nussmeier in 2024.
I asked this to Wilson, and I don't know. I hate to put you on the spot, but this game allows guys that can play that don't put their eligibility into jeopardy. Is there any young guys that we have not seen or maybe seen sparingly that you're looking forward to seeing in this game?
Well, it seems like during the interviews and whatnot, there's been a lot of talk about the young wide receivers, and I can't wait to see these young wide receivers. That's been said by some of the players and whatnot. And look, Shelton Sampson was the guy that we covered locally, obviously, and has got great talent. When he played in that Grambling game, wasn't ready for the bright lights, right? I think he dropped 2 touchdowns in that game. So I think it's some of those players, perhaps at wide receiver. We'll see if Shelton's, ready to play in the stage like this, and some of the other guys. Is it a case of Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors playing for a little while and then giving chances to some of the other people? And then, defensively, this defensive backfield, LSU obviously signed a lot of guys in this class, recruiting class, defensive back wise, but how do some of these younger players, come along in terms of the corner play and the safety play? Sage Ryan's back after disappearing for 15 minutes. So, some of those things. And I think Greg Penn is a guy that can be a very strong football player and a very strong leader. Very intelligent guy. He's gonna be great whatever he does moving forward. And next year, obviously, the defense must improve drastically. And I would like to see him be a leader of that. And still, as we're sitting here right now, the coaching staff and who's coming back and who's not. It's interesting to look up that Brian Polian, he wasn't reassigned until February 21st of last year. So where do some of these assistant coaches, where do they sit right now with Brian Kelly? Talking to somebody who's a prominent member of the media last week, felt like Matt House was still a coin flip whether or not he was coming back or not. I think you and I have both heard, well, he might come back, but then the other assistants, the other defensive assistants may be, told that they're not welcome back. So there's just a lot up in the air here going into, as we bridge one season to the next. And you look at it, what kind of job has Brian Kelly done? First 2 years, obviously 2020, you go 5-5 during the COVID season. Ed Ogeron has shown the door. In 2021, they go 6-7, and so you have a chance to go 10-4, make the SEC championship game last year, go 10-3 this year, and perhaps be knocking on the top 10, which I think is a very good job considering what Brian Kelly inherited. But then the other night, the national championship LSU Clemson replays. You watch that, and all those feelings come back, right? And you get greedy of like, man, that's where we want to be. Remember how that felt. Remember how awesome that was. That's the negative thing. If there's anything negative about getting to the top of the mountain and achieving a season that we perhaps will never see again, you miss it.
JD, the meter was not necessarily moved when LSU Wisconsin was announced here in Baton Rouge. How about over at the game site? Is there any intensity of the build-up for Monday?
Well, just got here yesterday. Hadn't seen a whole lot of people, Jordy. There is what they call a beach day, which I don't think LSU's looking forward to because the last time they were here 10 years ago, the track, the parking, everything was a disaster. And but Iowa fans took over the beach that day. And so the snowbirds got out of Iowa in the freezing cold and came down to the beach. So I would anticipate a lot of Wisconsin people, even if they don't think their team has a tremendous chance in the game or not excited about their team, maybe it's just, hey, let's get down to the south and let's enjoy some nice weather. But really, I'm thinking about the bowls, Jordy, that I've covered in recent years. I think the Texas Bowl, when they played Texas Tech, that was sold out. That was a rocking atmosphere. Patrick Mahomes, Leonard Fournette, and company. But the other bowl games have really not well attended outside of 2019. When I think about the Citrus Bowls in Orlando, when I think back to the Outback Bowl, it was called here in 2013, the Jeremy Hill game, which he ran for 233 in the game and whatnot. Anthony Jennings first started quarterback back then. I think one of the only plays they made that day, Odell Beckham had a one-handed stab line there, 21-14 LSU won. But, it's not what it used to be, Jordy, in terms of the bowl games used to have a gun out and it was a stick-up. Hey, you got to buy 15,000 tickets and you're either going to sell them or you're going to eat them. Now I think the allotment is only 5,000 or something like that for LSU to sell. So I don't know how many else are going to make the trip and how many are going to be saving their money for hopefully Kim Mulkey and company at the Final Four in Cleveland, Jay Johnson and company in Omaha, and then LSU obviously opening up next year in Las Vegas against USC. But look, it's a great bowl destination. You see the palm trees behind me. It's not going to be overly warm. I think highs are in the 60s and lows are in the low 50s, high 40s. Game day looks good at this point, high of about 70, and doesn't look like it's going to rain right now. So looks like it's going to be nice weather for the bowl. And then the Saints are playing Tampa, obviously Sunday. I talk about a coin flip, Jordy. Should I cover that game? I'm just wondering. I guess I have to since it's here, but that's Saints lost and they're out of it, and this team really has never stepped up to the plate, stuck their chest out, and come through when we needed them this year.
Yeah. JD, last one. Appreciate you. What's the coverage look like for 9 with you over there? Where can we follow you other than the 6 and the 10 and on social?
Well, I do my best to, update in real time. Like I said earlier, Brian Kelly will be meeting with the media later today. I'm not sure how many media are here. I'm not sure if the word Michigan will come up or not during that And I don't want to get to a ornery start here during the holiday season, but I'm wondering if somebody is going to ask that. And I just want your thoughts real quick. The post-game press conference against Texas A&M, he was not asked about a job. And he brought that up, really, when he said, this is our last stop. We're not going anywhere else. And nobody really in the media, there were no stories about Brian Kelly taking another job that we believed or even wanted to pay attention to, right? So I think that was always interesting that he really was saying death protest too much. Why was he so animated about that day? I wonder. And a lot of things would have to happen for that to even be a conversation. Starting with Jim Harbaugh leaving for Michigan, and he's in the playoff game, obviously. So, he wouldn't be able to talk about that for another week. Michigan wins or they lose to Alabama, and then goes to the NFL, and those things would happen very quick. But I just thought that whole bringing that up and being so animated about it was interesting that day. I said, well, he really painted himself into a corner, but at the same time, I didn't think there was any chance he would be leaving LSU with all the money he's got and the LSU job afterwards. So I didn't know what you thought.
I did not know that was organic. I thought that he was pushed on that. I thought that was a question of him saying that this is our last stop. I didn't know that he just kind of got there organically.
Yeah, don't hold my feet to the fire too much, but I remember sitting there saying, nobody, hey, this job's open, coach. Right. I'm trying to remember what the question was. I just remember the response didn't really match up to whatever the question was at the time.
Look, I'm with you. I thought that it was curious of the report and the timing of it, but I would. That would be something for Brian Kelly that would be a mark on him if he was to leave 2 years into a 10-year deal and bounce out of the SEC. I just think from a coaching, he's been so open of, I'm here to play Bama. I'm here for the SEC. I'm here for the to play on the top of the mountain and to really, going into the year that he has said, judge me on year 3. When year 3 gets here, that's when we really need to be assessed on the program. And going into year 3, he take another job. That would be shocking to me.
Yeah, and it can't be a money thing, right? You and I will never know that, I guess. Yeah. But what's the difference between $12 million, $13 million, and $10 million?
Right.
Why go through the trouble?
Right.
I guess it means something to me. I'd rather be down here chatting with you with palm trees and freezing up in South Bend, Indiana, or Ann Arbor, Michigan, or whatever.
I'm with you.
That's me.
I'm with you. I agree with you. Even to his personality, you can see. I remember interviewing him last offseason, and I told him directly, I kind of thought you were a coat and tie guy. Come to find out, you're kind of you're short in a golf shirt guy. You can't do that in Ann Arbor. So it would be surprising. I look forward to seeing if he is asked, if he does make a comment about it this morning. We'll be watching JD as always, and we'll be looking forward to getting you back in the studio next week, man.
All right, thanks for having me. I think my laptop's about to die anyway, so
perfect
time to leave.
Have a great New Year.
Wow, it did.
Wow, it did die. That is amazing. That was the timing on it. All right, JD's over in Tampa. Appreciate him stopping by at Jacques Doucet. And look, I don't want a big elephant in the room, the pink elephant in the room. Look, Matt Moscona, former co-worker of mine over at ESPN Baton Rouge, put out last week that on his social media that he had on good information if Brian Kelly was offered. A lot like Jacques said, a lot of stuff has to happen here. But Jim Harbaugh and Michigan in contract negotiations right now. Those negotiations have what I believe to be halted because of Harbaugh's real pursuit of the NFL. The Los Angeles Chargers job is open. There are reports out there that Harbaugh has been extended the job, is contemplating the job, and has the opportunity to leave. I believe that Harbaugh is going to go here. I think that it's very comparative to USC and Pete Carroll. a decade ago when Carroll looked at what was happening at USC and saw that there were sanctions coming, that the NCAA was on their doorstep, and that it was not going to be as easy as it once was to recruit players into LA. Carroll was like, see ya. Hey, y'all deal with this. I'm heading to the NFL. I think Harbaugh is going to play the same card here where, you look down the line, the NCAAs, they're huffing and puffing at the door here, wanting Harbaugh. They want the football program. They want some type of flesh on Michigan because of what Michigan has, they've kind of will-weighted the NCAA. Michigan football has kind of been like in their face and being like, hey, do something about it. And Michigan, we've seen how they react when you play those games with them. So I would expect, the NCAA not to be lenient with Michigan if they have the opportunity. And, Harbaugh don't want to deal with that stuff, so he is going to be on the move. And Moscona said if the job does open, if the Michigan job does open and that Kelly was to be offered, that Moscona had it on good information that he would listen and, in fact, would pursue it. I think, like I said, I think that would be a mark on Kelly. I think first and foremost, Kelly has to get offered the job. Right. I think Michigan's looking for a certain candidate, and whether Kelly fits that criteria or not, I think we can be open for discussion. If he in fact does fit the criteria and he's open and he takes that job, I would think that would, first off, to me, LSU and Michigan, and we debated this a little earlier with Denbrock on LSU Notre Dame, two very powerful brands, Notre Dame and Michigan. Michigan, the winningest football program in the history of the sport. Right, that'll
path to the playoffs on easier.
That's okay. There's a lot of stuff there that makes some sense. I still believe from a professional standpoint, I could argue that LSU Michigan would be a lateral move at best. Yeah, from a brand standpoint.
Oh, I think the branding LSU has a better brand, but for probably career success, BK would have to, I guess, wear the ding that he left at LSU after signing a 10-year deal. He left in 2 years, and he goes to Michigan. But I think it's probably easier to win at Michigan in terms of what the competition you face. All you have is Ohio State that you're really staring down the barrel every year, which...
I agree. And I would say it would be a mark on Kelly because Kelly has been so upfront of why he came to the league. Right? I think ultimately he came and paid attention to LSU because LSU opened up their checkbook and gave him a long-term 10-year, $10 million deal. Worth ultimately $100 million. That'll make anybody pay attention. But what Kelly said was the career motivating factor was that you get to play in the big games. You get to go to Tuscaloosa. You get to go to Athens. SEC title game. Big time matchups. The mountaintop of the sport for somebody who's been climbing the mountain for 35 years, you're finally here where you say you want to be, not necessarily Baton Rouge, but the league. And 2 years in to this mega deal, you split for a lateral job. Look, it might happen. It could happen. I don't know why it would. I don't know if you're Kelly, other than, there's some things that is, that we don't know about, but I that would be surprising to me. That really would. We'll
wait for Herb Street to get on the case. He seems to know a thing or two about LSU to Michigan and breaking news for head coaches.
But it would be, it would be interesting to have the job open up yet again in a 3-year period.
That would be interesting.
So
we will see. We probably won't know until it sneaks up on us.
We will see. All right, we teased this. The New Orleans Saints are under 500 on the season. They are in Tampa this week taking on the Bucs. They are 7-8 on the year and second in the NFC South. Moreover, they are painful to watch, more painful to listen to.
Frustrating.
Dennis Allen's post and pre-games interviews are just cringy. Mickey Loomis seems to be very untapped and very disconnected from the fan base if you listen to his weekly show. And the fans have ultimately had enough. And one of our favorites in covering the Saints, or at least covering New Orleans, is Hold DeMayo. Our guy he's awesome. Devin Snow. He does a fantastic job of content, merchandise. He does his red beans and rice review every week that you can catch on all of his social media at Hold DeMayo. But last week, he was running his Saints post-game show. Is this what's this? This must be following
Thursday night.
Yeah, so this was following the Thursday night game in the loss versus the Los Angeles Rams, where the Saints fell 30-22. Their 8th loss in the season, and in typical Saints fashion, Carr and the offense stunk it up. So Hold DeMayo has a post-game show that he does after every game, call-ins, and it is
high
just
comedy,
beautifully produced. I mean, the simplistic production is what makes it so beautiful. And here was a call-in last week that now has over 3.5 million hits on social media. And again, I will forewarn you, heavy profanity, heavy use of the F word. So if you're not down with that, you've got an opportunity to tap out now. If you got kids around, you don't want them to hear it, you can get out of here now. But if you want some high-level comedy, you want to laugh your ass off going into a Wednesday, stick around for the next 90 seconds. Stewie, hit it.
Derek Carr was talking about him and his son doing math homework together and all this bullshit. I hope his son does math homework better than this motherfucker plays quarterback. Because if he don't, he ain't getting out the fucking first grade. You know? And then he started giving all these life lessons and all this fake positivity. Who the fuck he thinks he is, Joel Osteen? You know, you want to go be a fucking preacher, go ahead.
Go ahead.
You can rob more people out of their fucking money. You already got the Saints for $100 million. And where the fuck did Money Mickey find Blake Groupie, the fucking North Pole? Maybe if he could see over the fucking line, he could hit a couple of kicks, you know? We got one of Santa's fucking helpers as a kicker. I mean, what's he ride to the games in, a fucking car seat? He looks like he ain't made his first communion yet, and he's out here kicking for the fucking Saints. Are you kidding me? After every fucking game, he's like, we need to clean this up. We need to clean that up. Why don't you go get a job at a fucking car wash, motherfucker, if you want to clean up so bad? You know what I mean? Because you ain't cleaning up the fucking Saints. Apologize for the profanity. You know, I love the Saints more than my first blowjob. There's a lot of passion there. You know,
there.
I think about my first one all the time too. So actually, that's extremely relatable.
So,
well,
I hope God bless the Who Dat Nation.
You're gonna hit us with God bless after bringing up the blowjob story. All right, brother.
That's terrible. I know.
Merry Christmas. Who Dat?
Who Dat?
I mean, dude, how good is that?
Oh my God!
How good is that?
Funny.
Go follow our guy, Hold DeMayo, on social media. Get his red beans and rice reviews. That is so good. And where the fuck did Money Mickey find Blake Groupie?
Looks like had his first communion yet.
Have a great Wednesday. We're back here tomorrow morning.
A lot of passion. Sorry.
Monday through Friday from 7 to 9. Yeah, you see the notification, we about to go live. We got all your favorite guests, we got them in line. It's the Jordy Culotta Show, come have a good time. It's the hottest show around, we ain't gotta flex. Call up G, we get it done, we earning our respect. Tell recruits to let us in, where they going next. Throw up the L's, now we lit, band playing neck. From the boot to the east to the west coast. No matter where we at, we live, mic'd up for show. Open up the phone lines, come and join the show. Make sure you tell your friends about Jordy Culotta Show. Yeah, Monday through Friday from 7 to 9. Yeah, you see the notification, we about to go live. We got all your favorite guests, we got them in line. It's the Jordy Culotta Show, come have a good time. Monday through Friday from 7 to 9. Yeah, you see the notification, we about to go live. We got all your favorite guests, we got them in line. It's the Jordy Culotta Show, come have a good time.